This is the brand new Urtopia Joy Carbon cargo style electric bike constructed with a carbon fiber frame, making it both strong and lightweight. The bike clocks in at around 56 pounds with the battery, according to my scale, while simultaneously being able to carry up to 330 pounds. It's got a rear rack that can hold 60 pounds as well as an optional front rack capable of carrying 60 pounds. Today we're going to take a deep dive on this e-bike. I'll show you how fast it is, how well it climbs hills, what it's like to ride, and our real world range after we do an 18-mile ride. But before we do all that, let me just give you the highlights. These are some of the pros and cons. So one, it's super approachable. The power level is sufficient. It's not intimidating, making it great for casual rides and beginner riders. Two, it's very lightweight and small, which makes this e-bike easy to handle for a smaller rider, unlike some of the e-bikes I've reviewed on this channel that weigh over twice as much. And three, it has a very low step-through frame and short wheels, which makes it super easy to get on and off. And here are three downsides of this bike. One, it's a 36-volt electric bike, so it's not a rocket ship. Two, the battery is on the smaller side, which does have its benefits, but range will be limited. I'll show you my results at the end of this video. And three, it doesn't fit me particularly great at 6'5", but that's more of a me problem. So the current MSRP is $1,999 in the link below the video. Click that link to get the best price, but don't buy this e-bike just yet. Let's review it first. Here's what it looks like when you get out of the box. Tires are 20 inches tall and 3 inches wide with a street tread. And we have a 750 watt geared hub motor on the rear. It is branded Urtopia with aluminum fenders and a light integrated into the rear. And obviously the frame on the Carbon Joy is made of carbon. Ride for joy. No suspension on the rear, but carbon is known for its shock absorbing properties. So we'll see how it feels when we ride it. Oh yeah. And we do have the step through frame, making this bike really easy to get on and off. Also, another thing making this bike easy to get on and off is the short 20-inch wheels, which brings the whole bike closer to the ground. They are Kenda tires, K-Rad with a puncture-resistant casing, and this bike is rolling on a through axle. This is the safest way to do it. Spoke wheels will help assist in a soft ride and keeping this thing light. And speaking of soft ride, we get suspension on the front. Solid amount of travel, and on the handlebars we get an adjustable stem so you can adjust the handlebar height and angle. Handlebars have a rise, and the screen kind of just sits right here in the center. Pretty cool, I haven't seen one quite like that yet. And the hand grips are ergonomic. Throttle application will be operated on the right with a thumb throttle. We have an 8-speed Shimano shifter with Tektro hydraulic brake levers. The 8 gears on the rear are Shimano as well. And we have a Shimano Altus derailleur. On the left side, we have the same faux leather ergonomic grip. Here's the controls to operate the pedal assist, and a somewhat unique bell comes pre-installed. Same Tektro hydraulic brake lever on the left, which will operate your Tektro hydraulic brakes. And as mentioned, it has a through axle with closed dropouts. So once you drop the wheel on there, you can be pretty sure that's not going anywhere. And this one has a center mount kickstand, so it keeps the whole bike balanced when you put it on the kickstand. The rear rack comes installed. We have a mounting point for a water bottle and a place for a front rack. The seat on this one is pretty wide, feels pretty soft. It's got the quick release so you can easily adjust it. So this whole bike is pretty small and pretty light. Just a few more things to put on it. Curious how much the battery weighs, which does come off with a key. You don't have to take it off to charge it, but you can. Of course, it comes with an owner's manual. Let's look at the battery. It is a 36-volt battery rated for 529 watt-hours of energy. So the voltage on this one is a little bit less than our typical 48-volt electric bike, which is one of the ways they help keep the weight of this bike down. Let's see how much this battery weighs in at 6.8 pounds. That's pretty light for an electric bike battery. The charger they give us is Urtopia branded, and a 36-volt battery charge to max is 42 volts. Charge rate is 4 amps, basically 15 amp hour battery. So 15 divided by 4 is your charge time. So only like 3.5 hours from empty to full, which is actually pretty quick for an e-bike battery. The pedals are somewhat interesting. Again, Urtopia branded, and we have a little bit of grip tape on them. And for those concerned with safety, we do get some reflectors. So lightweight carbon fiber, let's see how much it weighs. To do that, I'm gonna weigh myself 194.6, then subtract that number from picking the bike up. So picking the whole bike up, stepping on the scale, I can tell already, it feels pretty light. 243.8. Alexa, what's
49.2.
49.2 pounds. So just under 50 pounds without the battery. And then add about 6.8 pounds for your total weight of around 57 pounds. A lot of e-bikes weigh more in the ballpark of 70 or 80 pounds, so pretty light. So the battery pops right on like that. So the handlebar angle and height is adjustable. I raise it up basically to max. Let's check out this screen. So there's a power button on the top. Does that turn it on? Well, that didn't do it, so I'm guessing we gotta wake the battery up by throwing on the charger for a second. That light will turn green when it's fully charged. But just by charging it for a second, that should have wakened the thing up. Yep, Urtopia. So you power it up like that, and the screen is adjustable. You can rotate it. It's a relatively small screen. We get the important stuff like our battery readout, 74% on the right, miles per hour front and center, RPMs, that's kind of cool. Haven't seen this display yet. There's a P on the left, maybe for power, and a W on the right, maybe for watts of our own body, next to RPMs. Not really sure. So we can adjust our pedal assist with these buttons, and there is eco. So yeah, eco power, tour power, or boost power, and one more, turbo. So this thing is a color display. Also, as you can see, the time is displayed. Let's hold down the M button, see what happens. So there are advanced menus. So you can set a password, set your time, your units, brightness, auto sleep, e-bike info, and reset everything. Oh, so there's a speed limiter here, set to 32 kilometers an hour, which is 20, but we can raise that up to, the max would be 46 kilometers an hour. We'll just leave it on 32 to start. It's a 36 volt e-bike. Don't expect huge power or huge speed. So let's try the throttle. Spin right up. And there is a light on the rear. If you hold the plus button, it'll turn it on. And if you grab the brake levers, it lights up a little brighter. We get this little headlight on the front. Lightweight and minimalist like the rest of the bike. Here's what it looks like shining in my apartment. So it looks like this is actually like a two-piece adjustable seat height. We have the quick release, which gives us about this much, and then we can extend it even further using the bolt system. So let's try that, because I'm 6'5", probably too tall for this bike. Actually, let's put it on minimum settings first. So let's be honest, this bike is not made for a 6'5" dude, but that's what I am. Regardless of your height, you should be able to get on this bike very easily because it has this low, wide, step-through frame. So with the seat all the way down on minimum, this bike is really small. Feels good sitting on it. Here's what my pedal stroke would look like riding this on minimum height. Handlebars are raised up a bit. You could drop them down. So with the quick release adjust on maximum height, here's what I'm looking like here. Still way too small, you know, for like a serious ride. And I'm gonna adjust that seat post up with the tool. So that gets the seat up to about the handlebars, which gives me a little bit better pedal stroke, but still I don't get the full extension. I mean, this bike just ain't made for me. Yeah, definitely pretty light. So let's get this thing out for a ride. All right, dudes, let's check out the Urtopia Joy Carbon, and we'll see how this thing rides, what kind of range we get out of it. One kind of cool thing up here on the menu is it gives you a power analysis. So, so far it looks like it's 11% rider effort and 89% engine effort. I don't think I've seen an e-bike that shows that before, so that's pretty awesome. We'll see where we end up. It also shows the average power for the motor, which right now is at 103, and max power of the motor, which is only 628 watts so far. So pretty sweet stuff on the display. I should also mention this is a review sample. The final one's gonna be a little bit different. We'll have a brown seat to match the brown leather grips. The cables are gonna be a little bit more cleaned up, and they're gonna be a little bit more relaxed back towards the rider. These ones are pretty chill as is, but they'll be even more chill. And the color options. You see the color options linked below the video in the description box. So out here on the Joy Carbon, first thing I am noticing about this bike is just how incredibly light and nimble it feels compared to, well, most e-bikes, but especially the last e-bike I reviewed. The last one I reviewed weighed 175 pounds, so this thing just feels like a toy, man. I think anybody could probably just hop on this thing and go for a nice ride. So we'll try out the power modes here in a moment, but first, let's give it a rip up the 20% grade, the super steep hill test, and see how the Joy Carbon performs. So we're on eco mode. We're gonna crank it up to turbo. And I weigh 200 pounds. We're gonna do throttle only and see how it can do on its own. Ready, go. So off the line. giving us some power, and we're making it up to about here without pedaling. Now it is a 36 volt system, so this isn't like a power monster, but it does have pretty good torque I can feel, and it only weighs like 50 pounds. So let's put in a little bit of pedaling on our own and just kind of hold down that throttle. We can get up the super steep 20% hill grade test with a little bit of pedaling. So let's take a look at the power modes. We are on the lock 20 mile an hour power setting out of the box. We're gonna unlock the full power here in just a few, or the full top speed that is. But on eco mode, I mean, this is just a very fuel efficient lithium ion sipping electric bike. Like, we're just chilling. And since we do have a torque sensor on this bike, it gives us power in proportion to how hard we press on the pedals, which I can feel the torque sensor is working pretty well. If we look down here on the display, it actually shows the power of the motor here on the right, a little watt meter. So you can press the throttle to get off the line, and then if we press just a little bit here, we can see that green power meter going up just a bit. So we can really maximize our range just by obviously cruising on eco mode. Gearing feels good. I was actually on gear 2. Gear 3 here. Now this, you know, I can feel this bike is not designed for somebody 6'5". This is designed for a shorter rider. I mean, it's just got this low step through frame, the short wheels, just so light and approachable, man. Anybody can just get on this thing and ride this. I feel like a couple times I went and pressed the bell thinking it was the throttle for some reason. Throttle's on the right. So on the lowest power setting, eco, let's crank it all the way to gear number 8. So yeah, it makes us really work for it. So if you want to get, you know, a workout on this thing, you certainly can do that, because this is just giving us like a little bit of power. It just shows on that watt meter, shows our RPMs on there, how fast we're rotating our legs. So it looks like we're at about a 36 cadence right now, which is a little bit slow, obviously. But we could crank it down to gear number 4 and get that cadence up to about 70. That's a healthy pace. And let's throw this thing on to the next mode here, tour mode. So basically what that does is just makes you have to press on those pedals a little bit less hard to get power from the motor. So if you're new to e-bikes and you don't know anything about the pedal assist systems, basically there's 2 main modes. There's 2 main systems. One is a torque sensor and one is a cadence sensor. The cadence sensors are like the dumb ones where they don't sense how hard you're pressing on the pedals. They're not very intuitive. This one has the torque sensor system, which is the better kind of pedal assist sensor. It makes it feel just more natural and smooth because it gives you power in proportion to how hard you press on the pedals. And this torque sensor is feeling nice on tour mode. Let's crank it up to boost mode. So that makes it so you just really don't have to press on the pedals very hard at all for that motor to really start helping you out quite a bit. And now we're going 16 with ease, and then we have one more mode called turbo. And once you put it on the pink turbo mode, yeah, you basically, all you gotta do is just rotate the pedals. Just, you don't even have to press any power on it, and it'll just give you all the beans. Yeah, in turbo mode, check this out. So I'm just gonna start rotating my legs, and yeah, just gives us all the power. Now out of the box, they limit it to 32 kilometers an hour, which is 20 miles per hour, but we can easily get into the settings here by holding the M button, go down to bike info, speed limitation, and we're gonna change that from 32 kilometers max up to 46 kilometers an hour. On this review unit, we can unlock, basically that's 28 miles an hour. And now that should dial everything up more, but it's gonna kill the battery faster. So just be aware of that. Once you start going faster than 20, you start hitting 25 miles an hour, it just takes a lot more out of the battery to be able to maintain that wattage. And I can tell you right now, we're probably gonna kill this battery, this 36 volt battery, if we just rip on this thing all day long, because it's not the biggest battery on this bike, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Really all you want is a battery to get you, you know, for a far enough ride that you actually want to do. Once you start getting too much battery on these bikes, they start getting really heavy and awkward to pedal. So this one is just like a nice approachable entry-level bike anybody can get on and ride. One of my silly little tests I like to do is take out my polarized shades and see if you can see the display through the polarized shades. And this one, yes, you sure can. So that's great if you're doing any sort of riding out in the sunshine and you want to be able to see with your polarized shades on. So we do have a suspension fork up front and no suspension on the rear. So, you know, you're gonna be feeling the vibrations and stuff coming up through the rear if you do any sort of off-roading. You could drop the PSI in your tires to help eliminate the bumps and stuff, but that'll reduce the range if you drop your PSI too much. So if you want rear suspension, you could always throw a suspension seat post on there and you get most of the benefits of rear suspension without the weight penalty of a true full suspension bike. And let's get out here on the faster road and see how this does. So even with the top speed unlocked, it still limits us to 20 with the throttle, but you can use the gears and that'll bring us over 20. In most states, that is pretty much the letter of the law, is throttle can take you only up to 20 and then you have to use pedal assist to carry yourself from beyond 20, and that's how this one's set up. And speaking of the devil, we got the sheriff right here, so good thing we're being good boys today. Now, can we keep up with traffic? We'll find out about that. This one I feel a little more comfortable taking through the parking lot to get to our 0 to 20 acceleration area. Oh, quite the bump there. So let's get a 0 to 20 acceleration run on this thing using throttle only. With a 200-pound rider, I'm gonna do throttle only. Actually, I'm gonna rotate my legs just very lightly so we can kick in power, make sure we go past 20, because the throttle cut us off at exactly 20. So ready, go. So easy power, but 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So this is the kind of e-bike you really don't need to be afraid of, you know, hitting the throttle and having it just like throw you off the back and crash it. Like, it's gentle, approachable power. I should mention I do like the throttle on this one. It kind of like sticks to your finger nicely. Another characteristic of this bike I'm noticing is it is basically 100% silent. The tires make no noise basically at all, and the geared hub motor is basically completely silent from what I can hear. So with the top speed unlocked, let's see what this thing can do on the absolute top end. Doing throttle only, and then once we get to 20, we have to start pedaling, and we have it on turbo mode, so we really don't even need to press on the pedals at all. I'm, you know, giving it maybe like 50 watts, and we're going according to the onboard there, 25 miles an hour. My GPS says it'll lag a bit, 25, and 26 on the onboard, 26 on my GPS. And now, I mean, that's pretty much where the motor is helping me get up to about 25, 26, but you could put a little bit of work in on your own and maybe get a little faster than that. Probably all the faster you really need to go on an electric bike. Man, this thing just feels so darty and nimble though. So we're gonna get out here on the beach scene. We'll check the brakes and see what kind of final range we end up with. We are already at 81% on the battery. I've pretty much just been throttling over here, and that's what I'm gonna do today. So I know the number one question everybody wants to know, can it ride in the sand? Let's try it on the steep hill here first, and we're gonna get a little jump action and 3-inch wide tires. I'm actually kind of surprised we were able to make it up that. So the 3-inch wide tires helped us kind of float over the sand there. Oh yeah, rear suspension, the lack of rear suspension is feeling a little rough riding off here, so definitely suspension seat post if you're planning on doing that kind of riding. Although I do have the carbon frame, which does, you know, absorb some of the impact. Probably the most practical thing these wide tires are going to be good for is like running over like stuff like this. So can it ride on sand? Let's just give it a little test right here. It's kind of getting through here. Definitely not this bike's strong suit though. So straight up riding in the sand isn't really this bike's jam, but you can get out here and do a little bit of riding like this. Looks like we got a little acrobatic stuff going on out here today. Santa Monica is an interesting place to be. Maybe we'll swing through there on the way home, see what's happening. So I'm actually really curious to see how it does on the California incline, 85-foot climb, 12% grade. And we are currently showing 68% on the battery rolling into the spiral section here. I'm gonna downshift a few gears and let's do throttle. So it's pulling us up, not pedaling on the spiral section, which is a little bit steeper than the average 12% grade of the California incline around the corner. Pulling about 5 miles an hour there, doing the thing on its own. And obviously, since the thing only weighs 50 pounds, we can actually, you know, pedal it and get it going a little bit quicker, nimble around the corners. And we're gonna throw the back tire against the wall, hop aboard, and we're gonna give it a full throttle from a dig, ready, go! So it'll get going, no pedaling. Let's just see what it can do without pedaling on the 12% California grade, 7 miles an hour, 8 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 11 miles an hour. And it does show it's giving us full power. That meter is maxed out there on the right. So we're doing 13 miles an hour. And riding a bicycle up this hill without any sort of motor is actually pretty darn challenging. I oftentimes see cyclists just give up, or if they are going up it, pedaling it, it's at a pretty darn slow pace. So going up this hill at 14 miles an hour, I don't know how much wattage is giving us exactly, but this would be like an all-out effort from a professional cyclist to be going at this speed climbing this hill. Hitting the top at 13, and the controller did not power down or overheat or anything. So it is a 36 volt system. You know, not the most extremely high power electric bike, but gets us out here for a nice adventure. One thing that is nicely powered on this bike would be the brakes. We have hydraulic Tektro name brand hydraulic brakes on this bike, and the rotors are relatively large and the tires are small, and what that means is we get more mechanical leverage when it comes to stopping power, so we really don't even have to press on those brake levers too hard. This thing brings us to a stop nice and controlled. Very good brakes on this bike, and enough power to pull us up this hill. So let's give them a quick little brake test from about 20 miles an hour here. I'm just gonna slam on them and see what happens. Oh yeah, dude, I didn't pull them as hard as I needed to, or all the way in, honestly. I could have stopped faster. These tires stick to the pavement very well, and I mean, the bike's pretty darn light. Short wheels, big rotors, Tektros. You don't gotta worry about stopping on this thing, dude. Let's give them one more test. We gotta be careful not to pull them too hard and lock them up though. Oh yeah, you can definitely lock up that front tire. Solid brakes, bro. Just don't pull that front lever too hard and send yourself over the handlebars. So we're gonna head on home, check the final range. I'll share my final thoughts along the way. It looks like we are showing 64% remaining on the battery, and I've been pretty much thumb throttling all day today, so this will probably be about the worst case scenario on range you would ever get out of this battery. So final thoughts on this thing. I mean, this is just basically like a gentle, lightweight, safe electric bike. I like that it has the through axle on front. That's really what you want on all e-bikes. And the carbon frame, you know, is cool that it helps keep the weight down, also absorb some of that shock. Just really, you know, it's a really nimble, approachable bike for, you know, relatively short individual could get on this bike. Somebody who is a little bit more lightweight can manage the power and the weight of this e-bike. I like the brown accents. This one's, you know, it's got the brown grips. You have the brown seat when you order it. Which, speaking of ordering it, if you do want to order this bike, click on that link down below the video. Buy through that link down there to get you the best price on it. You can see the current prices linked below the video in the description box. And if you did click on that link before you buy it, it would help support my reviews here on Tail Happy TV, and I greatly appreciate your support. Good brakes, good torque sensor, good display. Let's head on home, check the final range. Sorry guys, looks like they're not doing any dancing. Oh, I take that back. They are. What an interesting sport to come out and try and learn how to do this in public. It looks difficult. Good tail, bros. So throttling home all the way at 20 miles an hour with a 200-pound rider probably isn't gonna be the best thing for range, but that is exactly what we're doing. I think I just dropped about 10% in 10 minutes. We're at 38%. All right, just rolling up into the neighborhood here. Just crossed over 17 miles. We were out there for an hour, 33 minutes ride time. Average speed about 11 miles an hour, and battery is showing 30% remaining. And that was with me, 200-pound rider, pretty much throttle only. I only pedaled this thing just briefly, just to kind of demonstrate and feel out the torque sensor on this thing, which is good. So one other interesting thing on this display is we can actually tab through here and we can look at the motor power and power analysis. So yeah, rider did 9% of the work, motor did 91% of the work. So obviously you could do way better range on this if you just slow it down and, you know, pedal it. Give it more than 9% effort. Average power was 169 watts. Max power was 628 watts. So a pretty cool little display there. And pretty cool electric bike. If you do want to grab one of these Urtopia Carbon Joys, click on that link down below the video. It would help support my reviews, and I greatly appreciate your support. However, if this is not the kind of electric bicycle you're looking for, you should probably watch this video right here, bro. Catch you over there.